Going to call the meeting to order, please. We have a lot of things, so first I want to thank the audience for staying with us. We're running just a little bit behind schedule, but thank you for coming. So for the board, we have Alan, Renee, Ginny, Milton, Lynn, Greg, Shari, Nancy, Dick, Andy, and Janet is on the phone. Welcome, Janet.
Wow, Janet.
I know she was here. Yeah. So the meeting is being streamed and recorded. Announcement of closed special meetings to be held. So there was a meeting of the Risk Management Committee on March 28th, 2019. Members were Milton, Susan, Lynn, Nancy. The vote was 4-0-0. The reason to close was Section 4, consultation with staff, personnel, consultants, attorneys, board members, and other persons in connection with pending or potential litigation or legal matters. Meeting was closed at 6:37 p.m. and opened at 6:59 p.m. The purpose of the meeting was to review general liability claims and the general liability self-insurance program and financial statements. There was a closed meeting, the Architectural Resource Committee held on Monday, April 8th, 2019. The members present were Sherry Fenneroff, Deb Bach, Carl McKinney, Grace C. Bradford, Eva Lambright. The vote to close was 5-0-0. It was closed under Section 4, consultation with staff, personnel, consultants, attorneys, and other persons in connection with pending or potential litigation. The meeting was closed at 1:08 p.m. and opened at 2:40 p.m. And the reason to close the discussion of new and ongoing covenant cases. Approval of the agenda. I'd like the motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Ginny moved. Is there a second? Lynn seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous.
Aye.
Good. Thank you.
There she is.
Okay. No conflicts of interest have been disclosed to me. Move on to resident speak out. Bauer, if I could have the list. Thank you. Okay. Alex, are you up? Brian England. Welcome, Brian. And if you could just make sure you talk right into the mic.
Microphone. Okay.
But not that close.
Okay, not that close. Okay. Earlier this year, the board approved the takeover of the covenants of the East Guildford Industrial Centre. After meeting with a number of owners, I formed an association and incorporated it that will assume these responsibilities. I'm here today to request a grant to absorb the costs of this transition. Over the past month, I've talked to many of the EGU property owners on this list, and without exception, they support our efforts. We've now reached a 50% goal, and with the support of the CA and the Howard County, who've got property in our EGU, we'll be able to pass we've well past our goal. Interestingly, it's Business Appreciation Week this week, and Chris, who's here tonight on another matter to do with bike path or an easement, was met with me, and along with Maureen Evans-Arthurs, the Director of Government Affairs and Strategic Planning, and Maria Vegas from the EDA, Economic Development Authority. I discussed these issues affecting the property owners, and these issues I've listed before, and this is what the document that I gave them, because it outlines all the things I've been talking about over the last, well, it's probably about 7 years. And asking you to support, the board to support this grant application to run the association. And the application, this is the application. Now, I don't have many copies of this. I've only got 2 copies. We had a problem with copying the application. And what it does, it basically makes the organisation the one that's applying for the grant to run to take over the covenants. So we will be emailing that to all the board members tomorrow, and the grant comes to a total of about $30,000. A lot of the work we've already done, but it is this final work to finish, and so that's why the number is so small. But this gives you an idea of just the expense. Do you have any questions about this?
Any questions for Brian? Thank you, Brian.
Well, I have not finished yet.
Okay.
No, yeah, I think I've still got some time. One of the things I want to point out, if you don't have any questions, one of the things that's happened this is a list of all the property owners that I've been talking to. And without exception, they're all mad, really mad, because we're paying a lien fee to the CA to amounts to somewhere between $600,000 and $800,000 a year, and guess what we get out of it? Zero. In fact, we got neglect. So patience is running out. We're trying to come up with a solution. You know, we got this, you agreed to take over the covenants, but nothing has happened. So we're now being proactive, and this is where we stand at the moment. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Sorry, Greg.
Brian, refresh my memory, what percentage do you have accounted for now?
It's right on 50% what we need. We need 51.
We need 51,
Yeah.
okay, so we're pretty much there right now.
Right, and I presume the CA, as a board, actually, agreed to this idea as an experiment, as what Dick said. They wanted to try it out, see how we go with this, and if it works out good over the next period of a few years, then it might be a good model for the future.
Okay, so what's the next specific step that needs to happen now then?
The next step is to actually write to each of the people, everybody must be notified.
For CA to write to the...
Well, that's would have been a nice idea, because that's what I thought was going to happen when the CA board agreed to this. I thought the staff or Milton was going to do something, but nothing has happened. So we will write to every one of the people, and then we will gather, and then that would be the vote.
Milton wants to.
We are working to identify all the property owners using the county records within the boundaries of that industrial area. And we're compiling the names of those property owners.
Well, we got them. I've got them. I've talked to them.
Well, as I said, we're compiling, we're getting that information, and we wanted, for the purpose of calling a meeting with those property owners to explain what the board has asked us to do.
Well, it would be nice to communicate with us. I mean, isn't that, here we are thinking nothing has happened. So why wouldn't you communicate and work together?
We're working on it. We are.
Well, how about working with us?
Well,
It's 7 years since we started this. We were offered to take over the covenants all this time. It gets extremely frustrating. This is not, and you got property in that industrial park, and the place is a dump. And it's your obligation to return it to being a first-class industrial area.
We're working on it. We're compiling the property owners. And,
Okay.
and yes, you're on the list, you're property owners in the area.
Well, we're going to go forward any case, as we've got the right to do. But if you would communicate with us, we should partner together. I understand this. Any case, we'll put in an application for a grant. I hope the board will accept this application. We'll get that I will pass a copy on so that it can circulate. But in the meantime, so you've got some idea of what we're requesting.
Alan?
Yeah.
2 questions. If CA had been doing what you believe CA should have been doing, would you need this grant, or is a grant because you think CA hasn't done what?
Right. Well,
That's a yes/no question.
Well, it's because they've done nothing as far as we know.
Okay, I get that.
Right.
But that's why. So if CA stepped up more, from your point of view, you wouldn't need the grant.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's question number 1. Question number 2, has CA signed on as part of that 50% plus?
No, we haven't asked them yet. We presumed, as the board was in more 100% agreement, that would be a given.
Suggest you ask.
Is CA's percentage part of the 51%?
No, not at the moment. No.
Okay, so that's over top then, okay.
Yeah, but they got. We got the acreage for each of the ones. We got this spreadsheet.
If we said yes, would it put you to the 51%?
Oh no, that would take us over the top. As I said in my testimony, it would take us over the top.
Great.
Actually, it would be about 65.
Well, let's make it happen.
There you go.
Milton?
I want to be careful, Alan, when you say CA doing what he's supposed to do. CA
From
does,
his point of view. I just want-
well, CA's not, even his point of view, CA doesn't enforce commercial covenants. We don't enforce any covenants. And so when you say CA doing what he's supposed to be doing, what is that we're supposed to be doing?
Well, you,
That's an issue, and
Well, that's in the minutes.
Yeah, let's not debate this. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. Any other questions? Next up, Chris Oliva. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you, Andy. You're going to get one right now. Good evening. I just wanted to say one thing, Brian. The grant request that he made earlier includes also improvements for the monumentation sign out there and some other improvements that need done to kind of spruce up the park. But the grant request I have in front of you right now is for a zoning regulation amendment to fix the NT zone. I come here all the time and I say, I urge you to get an attorney general's opinion. I've urged you to do this. And you're all very gracious and listen to me, and I appreciate it. But when I was considering this matter recently, I said, you know, let's just do a ZRA. And CA, you know, gets and will be a co-sponsor of the ZRA. The actual sponsor is going to be the Columbia Office Industrial Park Owners Association. And there's a draft budget in here. I think it can be done for this. Anybody can put in a ZRA in August, and we're in April right now, end of April. And my anticipation is that for the next 3 months, we'll petition the elected representatives. I think most of them would support this. The actual amendment is going to be modeled on the Village Center amendment. And it's just going to fix all the problems. It's going to address the problems that we confronted at the Lakeview, which is the strip shopping center on Brooklyn Parkway. It's going to put a regime in place that will allow the owners to know what they have and also enable the residents of Columbia to have certain control over it. And as I said, the budget here is $32,150. I mean, I'm not expecting everyone to sign on, but I think most of the people will. And so that's what we're here to request. And like I said, instead of asking you guys to do it, let's just do it. And I think everyone will be happier.
So I had a question for you, Chris.
Sure.
I mean, maybe I just misunderstood, but somehow you said, I think what I heard you say was you can't file a ZRA until August?
You can,
Well, you can
but
file it at any time.
you would have to get a county council member to introduce the bill. In August and February of every year, any citizen can introduce a ZRA. And what kind of inspired me here, there's a project called Jordan Overlook, which I think is in your development tracker. And there are people in that community, apparently they're opposed to it. I don't live there, so I'm not really that familiar with it. But one of the people over there, they got a ZRA so fast my head spun. And so I said, you know, this is not a straight line. Jenny was on the council, so she knows. So did I answer your question?
I think so.
Okay.
Well, actually, it still raises a question for me because I was working with them and they submitted it, the planning board approved it last week.
Right.
It's now up to whether the county executive requests legislation or a council member puts in the legislation would be the next step. But they didn't have to wait till August. That's where I'm getting confused.
Well, I believe the section of the code for zoning regulation amendments is 16208,
And I didn't look at that one, Ginny, so I beg your pardon. But my understanding, and I read this recently, is that after a ZRA is recommended by the planning board, which your ZRA was, actually the county council has to take it up. They don't have to pass it, but they have to take it up. And I have to look at your ZRA, but I'm pretty certain that any citizen, the whole thing is that you wouldn't have to get a council person to sponsor it. Otherwise, only they can put it in. They can only introduce bills.
Any questions for Chris?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'll be happy to look it up
Jenny
and
wants-
and
Jenny.
check.
One more clarifying. I still don't understand what you're talking about when you say any citizen. A citizen cannot file a bill in the legislature.
A citizen can file a ZRA under 16208 of the Howard County
With
Code.
the Howard County Council? To be
No.
heard by the Howard County Council?
No,
By the planning board, yes, yes. But we're talking about that for it to actually become law, it has to be passed by the Howard County Council.
it does.
So, well, never mind, we can talk about it.
Yeah, that's problem. Yeah.
Alan?
Is it, these are two separate grants we're talking about, because the grant, this has Brian's name as contact.
Yeah,
and-
he's the.
And
yeah.
both are for 30,000, but there's.
No, Brian misspoke there. There was a little mix-up. His grant is for actually $95,000. And then like the Downtown Columbia Partnership, he's also requesting a recurring grant, which would be akin to the distribution you make to the villages. And this was assuage a lot of the property owners. They aren't, they feel like they don't get anything, and we don't encourage that among them. But it's understandable. I mean, it's something that needs addressed, no question about it. And it'll be helpful when you all reach out to the property owners. Certainly they're going to welcome it because they feel like they're orphans. They feel like, oh, well, here we are, and they'll be very happy. They're going to make some demands, but that's life.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks.
So one final thing, we will then be submitting this to Ms. Miller. This is the application request, and we will make a formal submission to her tomorrow. So we hope that you all will support it, and I think we can get it done.
Thanks.
Okay, but is this going to go from an existing pot of money? Is that what this would go into?
This is a grant request under your, what do you call them?
approved
kind
in
of
the
grants?
budget.
Community grants.
Under the community
Yeah.
grants that we already approved.
And I don't know, maybe you don't have a budget, and that's fine too. I mean, it is what it is.
Total.
I haven't studied your budget, so.
I think its total is about 124, 100 and something. It's not a lot of money in there.
I mean, that's not mislead. I mean, is this the kind of thing that has to be considered as part of the next year's budget?
Well, it probably would be next year's budget. I mean, it's definitely not part of this year's budget.
I remember when you gave the
Right.
$200,000 grant to the downtown
Right.
partnership.
That was all done through the budget process.
Okay, and that's fine, but I wasn't sure. I would ask that you, the website for the grant requests is a little bit cryptic, and it's not clear to me exactly what your standards are, what you're looking for, and, so it's a shot in the dark, or when, and, so I was a little bit disappointed, if you want to know.
Okay.
Just one clarification, maybe staff can help with this. I think what he's referring to is we did approve a budget in February 28th or something effective May 1st. That includes approximately 100 or something that is available for people to apply for certain things. It's in Michelle Miller's department. I don't remember the exact figure. That it's not specific. People can come and apply. There are other grants in that same budget. Remember the Columbia Foundation that I argued, 150 grand, the Downtown Partnership, the X. So that's, I think, what you're referring to.
Yeah,
So
you
which
call them,
means you'd
what
be
do you call them,
applying-
Andy?
You'd be
You
applying now.
have to go back and figure out how much there actually is that isn't committed. We don't know.
It's not supposed to be.
We don't know how much yet.
Does raise a question for me. You're needing 30. If you only got 5, would that be worth having, or?
I mean, look, I'm able to work very efficiently. You know, the question is, does CA really want to resolve this? Obviously, the county doesn't. I don't think your staff does, with all due respect to everybody. The board seems to want to do it. I get great support from the board here. But, you know, I'm over here, I'm saying, look, let's just do it, and let's control our own destiny. And I've been doing this for a while, so, you know, rather than come here and urge you to do this or that, here, let's do it. This is like outsourcing, basically. Since you know, apparently you don't want to do it, and that's fine, but I think the board wants to do it. And, you know, maybe this grant request, Alan, will spur a discussion. Hey, guys, let's do it. You know, this has been like 9 years that we've been messing around with the thing, and then all this stuff happens, and then, you know, and everybody's like, oh, my God. And you know, so it has to get under control. You know, the Royal Farms situation over there, you know, Brian is going to be suing to enforce those restrictions, as he's empowered to do, along with the other property owners. And, you know, and again, these people are going to have to absorb these costs, and that's okay. But the point is that, you know, it's got to be sorted out and organized and have policies that everybody knows, regulations that everybody knows, and it'll make everything go a lot better.
Thank you, Greg.
One last question. 10,000 for drafting text, 3,000 for meeting with council, which I assume means the county council. Those kinds of things. Are you all, let me just ask you straight out, are you asking for a grant so that you get paid that money to do those things, or to hire experts to do those things?
We would do both. Actually, yes, I'm going to be the, and I'll tell you straight up, yes, I'm going to be the contractor. These numbers are kind of, you know, it depends on, when you do these things, how much resistance you get, you know, what do you need to do. They're very general. In the end of the grant, I say here, you know, whatever monies we don't use, we'll certainly return. And you know, if it was less than $30,000, I think that's considerable. But like I said, I think the important thing is the CA want to do it. And if they want to do it, and maybe they don't want me to do it, then that's fine. You won't offend me a bit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Next up, we have Jers Thornton. Welcome, Jers.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I just want to endorse with what Chris was saying about this amendment, and I hope it doesn't get postponed a year, because bad things are happening out there, and they continue to happen, and many of them really are bad for Columbia as a whole. So the question is, why a ZR amendment is necessary, and I'd just like to point out some things why I think it's absolutely necessary. One point is that the business and the industrial centers in Columbia, their area is larger than downtown and all 9 village centers put together. In other words, we're representing an employment area with businesses that far exceed the size of downtown and the village centers, all of which already have a ZRA that enable them to move forward with redevelopment. These business centers, because of their size, they're mostly very low-intensity development. They're mostly one-story buildings, except when you get into the Gateway. But otherwise, they're mostly one-story buildings. They're really, really low density. So they offer a huge potential for Columbia's future. Once downtown is pretty much finished in the next very few years, the biggest potential for Columbia to continue to expand and continue to be a force in this whole region is vested in their industrial and business parks. The existing zoning was written before Columbia was built, and it was to facilitate the building of a new town in pasture land. And it now results in unintended consequences, the appearance of which you see around you. So really is a need for amending the zoning regulations and to create a process that plans redevelopment, not just let it happen as people come on board and want to do something. It has to be planned like the town was originally planned, with some forethought and some idea as to where we should be going with it. This was, of course, done in 2010 for downtown and for the village centres. There was a lot of discussion in the community where the direction should be, how it should be done, and it ended up with a plan. This is the same thing that needs to happen with the industrial and business parks. In the meantime, the County Council and DPC interpret the existing FDPs out of context. And the result is you get strip retail in office centre parking lots, and you get gas stations where none were ever intended in Columbia, in the Columbia concept, and you get self-storage buildings in an employment centre, which has no employment at all. This grant will enable a process to lead to a ZRA, including the identification of who the participant should be. And it will also be able to prepare a plan for the business industrial centre redevelopment, and it will also allow the writing of the amendment focused on planned redevelopment. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Any questions? Shark?
Who do you think should be involved in putting together whatever new regulations are being proposed under this? I'm assuming when you're talking about planning, you're talking about design elements, you're talking about zoning restrictions of some sort. Who would be the best people
Well, that's
to be?
the first question, and I don't have an answer for that. And that's the reason I'm supporting this grant application. We need to, first of all, figure out who needs to be involved. Obviously, there's the parties that are property owners, but there's the community at large. There are two villages that border on one particular park, EGU. So should those village boards be asked to come to some kind of work session? I think perhaps they should. And CA ought to be represented. The list could be long, or maybe it's even too long, just the people I mentioned. I'm a professional planner and architect. I'd certainly like to be there, but maybe not. That's the first piece of business, is to figure out who. And then we already know why. Now we need to know who, and now we need to do what. And that's what we need this grant for, to get it started. Instead of going around and saying, well, who should be this and who should be that and should it be that, we need to get together and decide that, and that's what I think the value of this particular grant for $30,000 is.
Lynn?
Yeah, with the hopefully pending reevaluation of Newtown zoning that the county's been proposing, wouldn't this better go in that process?
No, because we're in another 3 or 4 years? I don't think so. In the meantime, opportunities slip past, and things get worse. And there was a wonderful movie last night I went to, and probably most of you went to it too. Great movie, and I come out there feeling really good. I've chosen the best place in the United States to live. This is great, and the social things are terrific. But not once did it was meant to look at the past and future. It looked at nothing in the future last night. I'm really dismayed about that. It's like, well, the future's going to take care of itself. We keep kind of resting on our laurels, how great everything is. We all know that, but we need to take a step with a vision and move forward. And we need to do it now, not 2 or 3 or 4 years hence when the county suddenly decides they want to do something. That's not good enough. We've got to do it ourselves.
Any other questions? Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Ron Hartman. Welcome, Ron.
Thank you. So my name is Ron Hartman. I've lived in Columbia for over 40 years. First time I've ever been to a CA board meeting, so after 40 years I have a concern. Has to do with rain garden. Last June, I contacted CA about putting in a rain garden. I guess it was John McCoy came out. He told us what we had to do, gave us the plans. We did everything. We took a tree out that cost well over $1,000 that he asked me to do, moved the wood pile, got approval from the architectural board, and that was all done probably late September, about late September. I called, got no response for a good 6 weeks. I called, I wrote, emailed, so finally I called one day and demanded to speak with someone, and they told me, well, he would come out. Well, he did. By then it was like mid-November, and he put flags of where it would be and say they'd get to it. Never happened. The winter came. I assumed it was because it was cold, they couldn't do it. So in March, I wrote to John, and I said, well, it's spring, where do we go? And he wrote back, well, we no longer have the program, so there's no money, and it can't be done. So I moved the tree for $1,200. I moved my wood pile. I got an approval, which is now expired. And I actually, after that, got no response. I wrote back to him and said, well, I want to take this higher. Got no response. So I called Renee. She was great, and she said I should share my concern here. So I guess my question is, if there was money last year, did it go to someone else? There was time to get it built, but it never happened. So what do I do now? The red flags are very nice, but they're not what I want in my garden.
Any questions?
Yeah, what
What can we do?
staff do to respond to him?
If I can.
Yeah, sure.
We will follow up with you tomorrow. If you've gone through the process, I'll work with Dennis, our Director of Open Space and Facility Services. If you've gone through that process as you've outlined and you've qualified for the rain garden, we will work with you to get money.
Great. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Next up, Joel Horowitz. Joel. Welcome, Joel.
Evening. Joel Horowitz, Harper's Choice. Yes, sort of follow up on things I've sent you and remain unresolved a bit, or that you're still working on. Might have seen I got partial response to my document request. Apparently, but I was trying to get some of the court documents by alternative means, but I keep getting sent to the bankruptcy court, so unless I find another way, apparently that's what I'm going to have to do, but I was afraid I was going to get search hits that I didn't want and end up downloading things that made no sense. So, in the response, it was admitted that you have filed no liens since the Court of Appeals case in 2017. You have filed no liens since the bankruptcy court case. In the discussion of 40 minutes ago when Sherry was talking about the financial things, that leads into getting your financial stuff in order, because as I talked to you last time about some of the new bills that got passed, it seems if you want to participate in some of the financial things, particularly if the county is doing tax foreclosures, you need to have a lien on record. I sent you an email on one of those bills. Nobody replied. I haven't written up on the second bill. If anybody's still interested, let me know if you even want me to bother to do that. This evening I sent you an email about what you were talking about earlier. I don't know if any of you had a chance to read that, but one of the things I don't like, the word fiscal sustainability. Fiscal, if you look it up on Google, most of it deals with government taxes, not financial of non-for-profits. The Rand Corporation, one of the hits is entitled the financial sustainability of nonprofit groups. During the discussion, you came up with a better word, I think, stability, because I don't like sustainability either, because it has a connotation for environment. And the problem is, when you were drafting these things, you have these important keywords that flow through them. You have sustainability there, and you have sustainability under environmental stewardship, and then you have leadership under leadership, and you have leadership under the environmental part. And I think it would be much clearer if you stuck to some of those words in only one place. So financial stability might be the right thing. But again, part of that was filing the liens. Also, cohesion is a kind of vague. I'm not sure how the public's going to read whatever cohesion meant. So I'd urge you to be less esoteric in some of your words and some of that drafting.
Great.
Joel, are you aware that the latest drafts of those goals are going to be sent around for public comment?
I was sitting here.
Okay. And we look forward to your comments.
Any other questions? Thank you, Joel. That's all I have on my list. Anyone else? If not, I'll send this down to Valerie and move on. Chair's remarks. So submitted in writing, just 3 quick things. One, definitely want to make sure that we thank Greg for his 10 years of service on the CA board. I don't know what he's going to do with his time now. You know,
He's going to be a resident speaker.
he's going to be a resident speaker. Second, a number of us went to the movie Columbia's Promise last evening at Smith Center. I mean, it was really good to actually see some of the folks in the '60s. They had, you know.
Long hair. You look so much younger.
I know, yeah.
Long hair and did drugs.
I know, it was very good. And I would encourage those of you who may not have been able to get there. It will be on PBS. I think this Saturday?
No,
Sunday.
The 28th at 7 p.m.
So, you know, tune in, but it's kind of good. MPT. And then the last thing I want to say is, I think we're actually doing a little bit better in our communication campaign with changes to the Supreme Sports Club.
Oh, yeah.
They put out a whole bunch of signs, and then in every locker, they put a little slip. I'll pass it around if you want to see it. And they put it in all the lock boxes, and they're going to have coffees and things like that. So, but there are some changes coming to Supreme. In particular, part of the facility is going to be closed beginning May 28th. And they also have it on the website. But it was very nice to actually see these, and people were picking them up and that. So I want to at least.
The staff was actually offering them to people.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. And reports and presentations. President's report. Milton, anything you want to say?
Any questions?
Alan.
Yeah. I just want to say I appreciate the working with Mr. Hartman. The part of his story that most concerned me was he described a couple of long time where he felt ignored.
Yes.
So I'd want to make sure that it's not just fixing his issue, but fixing that as a.
That resonated with me very loudly.
What will it take? What's needed? Is it a board decision or is it a staff decision to add our, whatever it is, approval at the Guilford Industrial Park that we can count our acreage toward their goal?
I have to look into. I don't know. I have to get back to you on that. Whatever. Number one, I have to find out what CA's acreage is, and there's probably a document we would have to incorporate that in for board approval.
Okay. What prevented you from when you said we're looking into compiling who the owners are and all that? And gentleman at the table said, I have it right here. I'm just really curious, what prevented you from saying, I'd love to get a copy of that?
Because the association has a process, and I want to make sure CA has a separate process because we want to make sure I've heard consistently they've reached out to members, but they haven't reached out to all the property owners. We want to make sure we have a list, an inclusive list of all the property owners, so we can contact them. If they don't respond, we can document that, but we can have a record to show that we have contacted all the property owners on record and within the boundaries of that industrial area.
I get that as a way.
And I wanted, and if
So I
my
don't get
preference
that
is
as a
for it to
response
be,
to-
for it to be a CA process as opposed to a process by another entity.
I get all that, but it seems to me that having a copy of their list would help further you along.
I'll take a copy of the list. He waived it, he didn't give it.
He said, and your response to him, we're working on our own.
We are working on compiling a list of those property owners.
Okay. Let's- no, Jenny had her hand up next.
Yeah, to get back to the garden, do we look at whether there's any county funding as well, so that we can, get more done? If the county pays half, we pay half, or something like that. There are county rain gardens, right? County funding for rain gardens. The county has a funding pot. I'm trying to
Welcome,
figure
Darren.
out how we get this guy.
Last year, the county did about 10, we did about 40 or 50. So the county funding is much more limited. They have a long waiting list. We were doing the majority of rain gardens by far, and the grant funding dried up. And we're going to continue to apply, hoping that we'll get it in the future, but most of the money came from the state, not from the county. And the county has a separate program, but it's not as strong.
So what do you mean most of the money? CA puts in some money as well?
Well, the county reimbursed half of a half.
Okay, what I'm trying to get at is then, do we do all the rain gardens in Columbia, and the county does it outside of Columbia?
That's generally been the case, but not necessarily true. It's a county program, so they would include Columbia in that, but CA's program was more lucrative. So if you were a Columbia resident, and our program only applied to Columbia residents, your rain garden was 75% paid for. If you were a Howard County resident, you got half. If
You see what I'm trying to say here is, again, it's another example of where our people pay an assessment here and a tax to the county, and yet here's an example of where they're not benefiting from a service.
No, what he just said was, you pay 25% less if you're a Columbia resident.
That was my point. You don't get
it for free.
You don't get any money from the county. They're just doing it.
You do. So the state paid basically half,
Yeah.
and then the county program pays half. So half of which remaining was paid for by the county.
So, may I? Go ahead.
Okay, and then Sherry gets a
Yeah,
chance.
I just have,
Yeah.
as a personal request, can you please find out when the money dried up versus when this gentleman the phone calls were not returned to him, so that I have a better understanding as to what went on. Does that make sense? So if the money ran out, I'm going to say back in November when he stopped getting phone calls. I don't remember the exact dates.
It doesn't matter when the money ran out. We should return the phone calls.
I don't disagree, but just if I could find out when the money dried up versus when the phone call stopped, that would just help me understand the situation, because he was pretty irate with me, to be polite.
Sorry.
Yeah, just shifting slightly to Milton's report. I just wanted to pass along a very nice thing that I heard about Fairway Hills. That let's have something nice. Very old friend of mine is now playing over there. Had very nice things to say about Fairway Hills. Is really enjoying the camaraderie of the groups over there. He talked a little bit about the bridge and walking around, what was really okay about doing that. So whatever communication is out there about having to do a little bit of additional walking until, it all goes into place, I think the folks in the golf program are doing a very nice job. So I wanted to pass that along. I also noticed that it says that the emerald ash borer continues to really be a problem in this area, and that we've lost 1,200 trees. Wow. Is that all on CA property? And if so, do we have any plans for replacing with alternative kinds of trees? And do we have a schedule for those trees to be going in? I know people in our neighborhood, there are areas, where they're out. It would be nice if we could tell people when they might be going in, or if there's any kind of schedule that's been set up. You know anything?
What I can do, I say yes, Dennis, what's the details?
Dennis, you're back.
Welcome again, Dennis.
So as you can imagine, this is many more trees than we would have taken down in the past, so we're working through that. We have a tree replacement or tree removal program that the foremen are responsible for. If more than 3 trees go down, if more than 10. The shorter answer, though, is that probably by fall we'll have a full plan. Really, right now, we're just trying to manage the removal of the trees from CA open space. And these are all trees. The 1,200 are the trees on CA open space. There are many more trees that have gone down county and state and regional.
So has the infestation peaked out? Are we on the tail end of this, or is it getting worse still?
When all the ash trees are gone,
Yeah,
that's going to be over.
Okay, that's what I
We're going to lose all the ash trees.
Okay. So how many more do you think that is?
We think we're through. Well, see, not every tree is in a location where we would remove it.
Right.
If some are deep in the woods, we'll let it fall on its own.
Right.
I would say we probably have about 50% of the ones in what we call the risk areas.
Mm-hmm.
Risk being, is it going to fall on a pathway, is it going to fall on a bridge, is it going to fall on a tot lot? And so we look at all that. But if they're a certain distance from a pathway or from a CA asset, they're not part of the program. Okay. The only place it gets complicated is in some, there's some groves of them. Mm-hmm. And so if they all fall down, it looks pretty terrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, thank you, Dennis.
We've spent, hundreds of thousands of dollars to remove these trees.
Well, we've spent hundreds of thousands to take them down, and we've removed a lot, but not all of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I've walked the pathways, and there are some areas it looks like pickup sticks.
Right.
It's not.
And I know the county's been out cutting down ash trees along the streets.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as many as they can cut down as fast as they can. Okay, thank you, Dennis. Dick had a question. Is that Sherry done? Sherry done?
No, that's okay. Thank you.
Well, I was going to follow up on what Sherry said about Fairway. My wife and I were over there the other day and saw the new bridge, and it's fantastic. It really is a nice piece of construction, and I think Dennis has done quite a job there. And I don't see how that's possibly going to float away.
It's a couple feet higher, and it has less freeboard.
Well, it's steel, too.
I will actually have a video next month, so make sure you get it.
Okay.
But anyway, the other thing, getting back to the
Move on to me. I want to bring Janet up.
the Guilford situation, the board has made it really, really clear that we want to take over the commercial covenants, and we've made it very, very clear that we want to use Guilford as an example. This thing has dragged on for a couple of years in front of the board, and there is a perception that some members of the staff are slow walking this, and that we're not being on our toes here. And I just hope that we can move this thing along. This has really gone on too long. We want to get this done, and we want to make it happen. That's all I got to say about that.
Great.
Yeah, Milton, would you mind going forward including a status on the East Guilford, I don't know what we call it, a project or whatever it is, just something?
Yes, I will.
In the president's report, maybe that we could see. That would be good.
That would be really good.
Milton.
Yes, very quickly, Janet.
As you all know, tonight is the last night, our last board meeting of the fiscal year. And every year, we always like to give you all something to thank you for all of your efforts, and it's always built around a theme. So this year, I was trying to think of a theme. And the theme that
Hi, Janet. Could you use the mic, please?
Sorry, Janet.
Karaoke night.
Well, I can't sing. But I was trying to think of a theme, and the theme that I came up with is I imagine all of you could use a little bit of rest and relaxation. We've had a lot of long meetings. We have talked a lot about some very, very difficult topics, and we're continuing to do that. So whether you like to relax by going to the gym or working out or going to play golf or maybe taking a weekend getaway, each of you has a weekend duffel bag.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Oh,
That's
the logo fine.
So, I just wanted to show you that.
Subdued.
Sorry, Janet. This is what it looks like. And each of you has one.
So what I'll do... I got it. So what I will do is I've got them in the bags, and I will come around behind you, and I will give each of you a duffel bag. But also, thank you so much for all that you have done this year, all that you've done, Greg, for 10 years, all of you for many, many years as well. We appreciate your efforts, and thank you so very much.
Thank you, Janet.
Thank you, Janet.
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay, Ann Arbor Trust Report. Any questions? Absolutely. All right, move on. Finance reports, none. Quarterly update, membership information. Milton, anything you want to say?
Dan, you ready?
Welcome, Dan.
Well said. I completely forgot to bring the presentation.
Oh.
Jessica's saving me.
You want to see it on this? I'm serious.
I couldn't know. She
Yeah, we
I
can
had to
hear.
run up between the meetings because I forgot to bring it. So she's loading it right now. Okay, now I'm ready. Andy ran down. So quickly, we're going to cover the time period January through March of this year. It was actually a very strong 3 months. I'll call it a quarter, although it's not our fiscal quarter. Traditionally, December, January, February are strong membership sales months. On the chart you see there, that's our new membership sales. The blue bar is FY18, the red bar is FY19, and the green bar are the goals that we had set. For January, we far exceeded FY18 and our goal. The same in February. In March, we did not hit our goal. I was told once in my early career that if I was always beating the goal, I never set them high enough. But we still beat last year. And by happenstance, March was the first year the sales team actually were in place last year. So it's been a full year that we've had the sales teams in place. But very strong sales across the board, January, February, March. By type, looking at the different membership types, Haven had a slow quarter with both the Refresh and the Revive memberships. We had an extremely big month, last March, with the Revive memberships. We're not sure what really drove that because we didn't do anything special, but we weren't able to replicate it this year. Coincidentally, and I checked the numbers 3 times, the Play memberships were exactly the same, although they didn't come in each month the same. The OneFit, a substantial increase in the number of OneFit memberships, as well as the Fit and Play memberships for the quarter. The Play memberships themselves have been slow since last summer. The extensive rain really slowed down the Play sales. We haven't seen them pick up yet. We've had some nice weather, so it'll be interesting to see what happens in this is April, in May.
Why is there no goal for 2019 for these?
Because we don't break it out by individual membership type, because it gets too. You end up forcing somebody to buy a membership they don't want. So we want to sell people the membership they want and need. So actually what we do to account for the different values of the memberships, we have a numerical goal, but then we also translate that into a average dues goal to match our average dues base, which reflects the average overall membership base. So the sales team works against a number goal as well as a cash goal that reflects the average dues, so that we can balance out the two. But getting into the cash goals gets really confusing. Attrition, the cancellations, the blue bar again is FY18, the red bar is FY19. You can see a pretty substantial decrease in the fit and play cancellations. Some of the single club memberships pick up. Those are the most volatile. Those tend to be more predominantly single members. So they tend to float in and out more than family and couple memberships. Play memberships, it's that time of the year. We're not selling play memberships, and as those roll off, and the cancellations decrease at Haven for both the add-ons and the regular.
I know this is obviously very encouraging. Were the numbers, to refresh my memory, when do you count a membership as, off the books? Obviously, when the member comes in and says, I'm canceling, but as far as non-payment, what is it again, day 60? 60. That then it goes into one of these bars, essentially. Yeah. And did the reduction have anything to do with the timing of that? Like last year, we counted
No, you can actually see there's more cancellations. The next slide, you'll see there's more collection cancellations than there was last year.
Alan? I'm just trying to do the math. So maybe this is what Joel said earlier. If I'm doing the math correctly, there were about 1,200 members who left in that 3-month period, and there are about 1,100 plus members who came in, which means we lost members in those 3 months. Is that correct?
No, we gained members.
How many?
It looks, I'm looking at the goal. Okay.
So how many members did you gain?
Well, that's the very last slide. We'll get there.
Oh, sorry. I'm trying to read them off this.
Not a lot.
So cancellations by reason, Greg, you can see the collection was 15% of the cancellations versus 12% last year. Almost every other category, personal reason and illness went up a little bit, but they were either about the same or less across the board compared to last year.
So didn't use as the category to aim at if we want to make a difference in this.
Correct, and that's the hardest group to, besides moving.
Well, it's actually the only one that we, except that and price, are the only ones that we perhaps have some control over.
Yes, you could substantially improve, yeah. The industry average is around 30%, a little over 30% for non-use. And normally, and you'll see at different times of the year, now this is only searching a quarter, this isn't searching a whole year, but moving is actually up around 30% as well for the year, just not many people move in January. But it picks up over the summer and spring. But non-use and moving make up 60+% of your cancellations on a normal basis.
Ginny?
Oh, he's not finished.
Oh, Alan, with your question? No, oh, sorry.
Oh, thank you.
The don't use category has been bothering me for 2 years. That could we be doing more? have we done any interviews with some people and found out why? Is it our product? If we would do X, they would continue to belong to our clubs or use them or whatever?
The reasons are across the board. It's time. My job changed. And, so that's what makes it so hard to impact this, because it's so hard, and sometimes they don't give you a straight answer. But it is, non-use, typically when you look at cancellations and attrition, after I was at a fitness technology summit in the fall, and we were all having this big debate, and it was some major players in the industry. We have all this data, and nobody knows what to do with it, that's being collected. And as we look at it, we look back, and still the number one predictor, everybody's trying to predict when somebody's going to cancel. They've been trying to do that since I started in the industry. And the number one predictor is still when my usage habits change. If I've been using it once a week for the last 5 years, or I've been using it 5 times a week, that's no different of whether the one person who uses it once a week is no less likely to quit than the person who uses it 5 times a week. But if the once a week goes to once every other week, he's as likely to quit as somebody who goes, the 5-day-a-week person goes to 2.5 times a week. It's that change in patterns and really trying to figure out with what impacts it.
Well, of course, that could just be a correlation. I mean, that's their glide path down. They finally realize now it's not worth it to me.
Well, yeah, because like Jenny started the question with what's the cause, and there's so many things that cause that. So you look for what the correlation is, and if somebody's usage starts changing, then they're more likely going to quit.
But it's what caused their usage to change.
But that's the reason you can't pin that down, because there is so many things that play into it, and you can impact some of them. And we've talked about this before. I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in my careers calling people, emailing people, trying to get people to come back, offering services, come back in and work with our trainer for free, come do all this. And the impact is nowhere near the return on the money you invested. And so really what everybody's doing now is trying to get them to the point, what programs are we offering, what services are we offering to keep them engaged so that usage pattern is maintained, rather than trying to catch the horse, close the barn door after the horse is out. It's just your return on your investment. You spend all that money that you could be spending on keeping them from getting there in the first place. That's the challenge that everybody has. Okay, and I left the attrition reasons in there in case, because when you look through those, they're not always explanatory. And then the earlier question. So here's the net change in the membership base by month. And you can see the blue bars again are FY18. In January last year, we lost 68 members. This year, we gained 111. In February last year, we lost 69. This year, we lost 2. And in March, we lost 29, and this year we gained 35.
Net.
Net, yes.
And can I ask you, I know you do this on a calendar year quarter. Our financial reports are, in our fiscal year. Is there a reason why you don't align this with our?
Because that's when these meetings fall.
Oh.
I would be giving you such old information in this case. I can align them, it just will always be out of sync depending on when this meeting falls.
It's just we get certain reports in those on the quarterly financial reports about membership numbers. I don't know. It's not going to affect me. I'm getting off the board, but I just thought it would be interesting if your reports, your membership reports, would align, the numbers in here would align with what's in the quarterly reports.
Well, they do because they're the same numbers. They roll up. Now, we've worked very hard over the last couple of years to consolidate the reports. Mm-hmm. So we have one master report of record that we all use now.
Oh, no. I'm not saying there's different data or different numbers. I'm saying, for example, you've got a net change in this quarter, January through March. You've got a net positive gain of memberships of 144, right? Well, in the quarterly reports we get, that net change, that graph back there, that's for a different quarter. So it won't be we won't see a net gain of 144, we'll see a net gain of something else because it's a different
Yeah.
quarter. That's what I'm saying, it would be, I don't know, I think it
I
would be
can
helpful.
align them. I was just trying to give you the most relevant
Yeah, no,
information.
I don't know what the solution is.
We'll look into it. We'll see if we can come up
Change
with
to a calendar fiscal year.
It's a great idea.
May 1st, April 30th.
Yeah, I can go either way. Just,
No, I hear you. We'll see what we can do. We reported our last quarterly report was through the third quarter, which was through January for the early March audit committee meeting, but we're kind of out of sync with that, so we'll look into that.
Roughly speaking, what kind of a lift is it for the organization to shift its fiscal year?
It would be a significant lift, and that's probably an understatement.
It's a discussion for another time.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Dan. Any other questions? Thank you. Okay, next up, development tracker. Jessica? Milton, anything you want to say?
No, we're going to keep rolling.
Yeah.
All right, good evening, everyone. Bear with me, I just learned I need glasses, so. See how this.
Congratulations.
Yes. So says everyone. Is that slide? Yes, okay. Okay, so this development tracker is sort of a weird timing for everyone because it's coming at the end of the month, so a lot of what we talked about in the development tracker has either already occurred or is actually scheduled for late May, and you'll get a new version next week. So, but I tried to then update you on the new ones that we think are important that are coming up, just so you guys are aware. The planning board on May 16th at their meeting, they will look at 2 site development plans. One is the downtown public square. That's the lakefront core property park that you guys have been looking at so much with HRD. And then the county circuit courthouse site development plan will also be discussed by them. So that's going to be occurring on May 16th. The technical staff reports are not yet posted or up, but I think we've been following it pretty closely, so we have a pretty good idea what's going to be in them. And then the other thing I wanted to let you know is that the zoning board is going to take up the preliminary development plan amendment for the Hickory Ridge Village Center on July 24th. It's been scheduled with them. So we'll continue to monitor all these.
Just so we can track, this slide is not part of the package, is that correct?
No, these are all new updates since the package was put in place. And then I have one more slide, and then I can take any questions about what else is in the development tracker. And then the one other upcoming public meeting that's been recently posted, Dick, I know you in particular are interested in this, is the Dorsey Overlook apartment complex project is going to go to the design advisory panel. This, as we know from their environmental concept plan that was submitted, they've gone from having one big building to separating into 5 buildings. So these will be 5 separate buildings on the site plan, and the design advisory panel will be providing them comments on both the architecture and the site plan.
Could you identify those 2 roads, the horizontal?
Yes,
and
sorry.
vertical?
So this is Lower Road across the bottom of the screen is Maryland 108. And then this is Columbia Road heading up into Dorsey Search. The Village Center for Dorsey Search is up in this area. So this is fronting along Maryland 108, and then 29 is sort of
What's there now?
here. It's actually currently, it's those smaller residential homes that are all fronting on Maryland 108.
There's a Mennonite church and a bunch of small houses.
Yeah, yeah. So I think they've all been bought out and are sitting vacant
They've
at this
all been
point.
bought out,
Yeah.
one of them's been torn down.
Yeah.
What is the access road?
It's actually, it's from the back. So this is the access road coming down. And then I think this is actually called Old Clarksville Pike, because I think it's.
That used to be 108.
Yeah.
And you can still see the stripe down the middle of it.
Yeah.
They use better paint than.
So this is sort of in the early stages. We'll have more information. I'm personally very curious to see what the design advisory panel has to say about the design. I think the big change is they're going to 5-story buildings, and the entire first floor will be the parking structure, so it'll be covered parking. So it's not going underground parking, but all of this bottom level will be that kind of parking structure.
Is this affordable? I'm sorry.
You know, they used to be affordable, but the current package does not say it's
55
affordable.
plus.
Yeah, I think
They're
it's
age restricted now.
age restricted, but not listed as affordable anymore. So.
Not affordable.
Doesn't need to be.
Rich seniors like Dick.
Sorry.
My
No,
house
just-
is right.
I just wanted to ask about screening for something like, is it the same screening requirements for a senior facility as there would be for any other facility?
I'd have to look at the landscape manual to let you know for sure. I think also, honestly, a lot of it's the context of the site, because a lot of screening requirements are based on what the adjacent use is. So the screening from, you know, a more intense use to a residential property is going to have a greater degree of required screening. For this property, because it's residential and it's fronting Maryland 108, they might want more aesthetic screening, but then there's also the opportunity to, you know, have a more active streetscape. So I think those are all details we'll work out as we go into the site development plan, but I can get you official answers.
Is this rental or sale?
It's rental.
I think it'll be rental, yeah, because they are apartments. They're not going to be condos or anything.
There's a big problem with setback. You see, there's a building over here in the corner.
Yeah.
That's a medical building. And the apartments are right on the road. I mean, there's very little screening, and that's going to be.
When you say problem with setback, are they going to be violating the?
No, I mean, legally they can do it. They squoze everything on there they could, and, but as you see, there's nothing but road between the buildings and the highway.
Well, is that the service road? That's not 108 you're talking about, the
Well,
service road?
No, this is 108.
This is 108, and then there's
service
This
road.
a
used to be
buffer.
108 here.
Yeah.
Right.
That was the old 108,
Right.
and when the
What I'm asking is, will there be a sort of a service road or another road running?
It's not really a service road so as much as it's the main entrance to it.
This is Old Annapolis, and then you come back in here, that road exists, and it's gonna come, it comes in here.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Which is the old highway.
Right.
And then it goes back into.
Dick, what is Dorsey Search saying about this as far as the
There's
village?
a great deal of unhappiness.
So are they going to make a presentation on May 8th?
The thing is, they've changed this plan so many times. It used to be stacked townhouses, and
Right.
then it was one big building, and then it's 5 little buildings, and
Is this the same number of units? Is the density the same but laid out
it's about,
different?
the density is about the same. People aren't happy about it. They're concerned about the traffic.
Right.
Even though it's age restricted,
Right.
This intersection here gets pretty busy around rush hour, and it's an ugly building.
Right.
It's the other problem.
So.
How many units?
It's 124 units.
124. So is the village going to go to the design advisory panel and make a presentation?
The
for
design
all this?
advisory panel does not accept comments during their panel. To submit comments, you have to do it beforehand.
Right.
It's, yeah.
And we didn't see the plans beforehand. I mean,
So the plans just came out?
So what typically happens with these is they have to do a pre-submission community meeting, which they've already done, and then they do their design advisory panel meeting. So this is a great opportunity to learn more about the project.
Okay.
To attend that meeting, we'll report back on it. The design advisory panel is now posting the minutes, like they record their sessions now, so you can hear it online if you don't have the opportunity to attend. And then I anticipate that there will be more meetings coming up that we'll closely follow.
When you say that they have the pre-submission meeting, can they change the plan after the pre-submission meeting?
I don't think they can change it substantially, because the point of the
Pre-submission had to happen after that they put it into 5 smaller buildings.
well, I could be mistaken on this, but they had a pre-submission meeting when it was one big building, and I was not aware of any
I can
meetings.
double check the timeline on it. If they have not yet had a pre-submission community meeting, then they will have to do it after their design advisory panel
We
meeting.
haven't seen anything since they had the big building.
I'll double check and I'll get back to you.
So what are you recommending at this time?
Right now, I'm in a wait and see mode because this is the first time we've had an opportunity to look at this, and this is all conceptual renderings. It's illustrative,
Right.
so I want to look at more details. Personally, I think that the 5 separate buildings is a better design than the single large building that used to be there.
Okay.
I'm slightly concerned that there's a reduction in the amount of amenity space that's being offered since it's all mostly along the back. There's also some environmental features in this upper corner that I want to look at and see what the impact of this new design will be. So I'm sort of in a needs more review, and I look forward to bringing this back to the board's attention. Yeah.
Sorry.
Just wanted to ask, I know that there are areas over there that have been subject to flooding, and this looks like it's going to be a whole lot more pavement put in that area, and there is a dip over there. Will there be any kind of environmental report at that time?
Yes, so they have already had their approval for their environmental concept plan. So in concept, they are treating the stormwater of this area based on the amount of impervious surface that they are showing.
They're treating it, that means they're putting in...
They have had to build into their concept plan mitigation for stormwater management purposes. It's always different for every site, so I can get back to you on what those details, but they are mitigating to the standard they are required to.
And that's a Howard County requirement.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a big retention pond, that pale green up there. These are townhouses to the north, and that pale green thing is a huge depression that's used as a water retention plot. And we are concerned about whether they're going to be able to hold their water here, because this all goes into the Plum Branch of the Little Patuxent.
Yeah, and I've been told that there are streets up there that are flooding
108
consistently.
gets flooded.
Yeah.
And this also feeds into Fairway Golf.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we have land there that's
we have
being
bridges there.
inundated.
So we are.
There is impact.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and I can check the environmental concept plan to see. Typically, what you're treating for is the quality of the stormwater, and that's treating like the first inch of rain, but oftentimes where they have histories of flooding in an area, they'll also say you need to treat for volume. So I'll double check what's actually happening on the ground there.
I appreciate that, because I know the village wants to know that.
Jessica, there were two things that I had noticed. I looked at the plans, and by the way, there's more details online. One is that they did not, right now, all there is a concrete barrier between 108 and this service road. And I'm very surprised that they did not do more landscaping there or propose, something about fixing that concrete barrier.
Yeah.
And the second thing is I am very surprised the county did not require them to add a little additional on Columbia Road to fix the problem with the right turn.
Yeah.
And because they own all the property now. And
So I will say at this point, this is their conceptual printing. So it's not that the county has required anything because the county has not had an opportunity to review it. So this is the initial review by the design advisory panel that's essentially going to start looking at that process, and their comments are taken into account by the county. This is an opportunity as well for CA to present some of these comments. I also know that the county and SHA have sort of been looking at this entire area, especially in context of what's happening at the courthouse. And so there are potentially some recommendations for the Columbia Road, Maryland 108 intersection, and this frontage. So I'm sure that the Office of Transportation is going to have those comments, and we'll continue to follow that. But it will be looked at comprehensively. This is sort of the first hurrah of them saying we've gotten through our environmental concept plan, and these are our design plans.
okay, thanks, Ginny.
Yeah. We don't necessarily have to take a position right now, but if you have questions, couldn't you be getting those to the DAP? Because you have to do it beforehand.
You do have to do
it at that
I
hearing,
anticipate that this will go to the DAP more than once.
What?
But I am at this point just wanting to see what the design advisor panel's thoughts are on this project.
Well, no. What I'm saying is not, I'm saying no, don't do it that way. What I'm saying is if you have questions now, why aren't we, as CA, getting those questions, like in terms of water retention, is it adequate, the road access, traffic, et cetera? Why aren't we getting them now as CA to the Design Advisory Committee? As saying we want to make sure these are addressed. You don't have to say the plan's inadequate in those areas. You're simply saying we want to make sure you look at that and address it and see if it's really sufficient.
Yeah,
Because you may not have an answer before that May 8th hearing.
Yeah, I guess in my experience, since I've attended many design advisory panels, they ask all those questions. So, and they are I trust the work that they have done, so that I don't necessarily feel the need to speak up. But if the board is interested, I can reach out to the planner and say, these are questions we particularly have.
Yeah.
Can we make sure it's brought up? Because that's.
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel that way. I don't know about the rest of the board, how they feel, but you've gotten some good questions here, and you're not going to get answers maybe by May 8th, so I would like to have those questions raised in a letter from the board.
Yes.
Okay.
I second that. I mean, with Erickson, that's what we did in River Hill. We were up front with the design advisory panel, with everyone. We were ahead of the curve. Wait and see doesn't work.
Alan?
Related to that, maybe you've already said it, and I'm not putting the pieces together. You say you're sort of in a wait and see mode.
Well, I'm saying that.
So what could be what could they show you that's going to go raise an alarm? What could they show you that says everything's cool?
Well, I try not to speculate at this point. What I mean is by saying I'm in a I need to collect more information mode, because the design advisory panel posted this information within the last few days. So I haven't had a chance to sit down with the material of it. It doesn't surprise me because of what we've seen from their environmental concept plan, but details that you get in the site development plan level, I think, are the crucial ones. And these are, at this point, what we're looking at as the big building blocks. So where is the road? Where are the buildings going? What do the buildings look like? And what are the amenities? And there is, at this point, nothing that's being shown here that greatly concerns me, that raises the red flag. And so I think it's collect more information, and then if we have concerns, then we can follow up on those.
Okay. Thanks, Jessica. Anything next? Any other questions on development tracker?
Yes. Is there anything in the development tracker that is or could go? Tonight we at least tentatively approved a goal of advocating for things that issues that, my word, pose a threat to Columbia's nature as a unique plan, diverse community. Anything in the development tracker that doesn't have to rise to the 8-alarm fire realm, but says, whoa, this could be a problem if it's not handled right?
No, I don't think there is. I think this development tracker was, I had very few items that I felt needed to have a recommendation other than we're monitoring this based on where it is. And mostly I think there are just some good opportunities. When the Sheraton Hotel is happening, there's some good opportunities to improve the relationship between CA property and that hotel. And I think that's the only property of interest right now.
Let me ask Janet, do you have any questions? Okay. Shari and then Greg.
No, I don't.
Yeah, I did have a question about the Sheraton.
Yep.
So the renovation, how many stories is that?
Oh, I'm sorry. I want to say 15. I'll double check it and get you the accurate answer.
Okay, so 15 stories. It's going to the, no, it was at the design advisory panel. What came from that? Did you address that last time? I'm sorry, I don't.
No, so that happened since we last met. The design advisory panel, I went to that meeting. They were mostly interested in seeing how the new addition will integrate with the old building that's going to remain, to make sure that they're actually working well with each other and they look good. And then they were also really interested in the connections that are being proposed between Sheraton and down to the lakefront pathway. That connection piece is not part of this initial submission. They're going to be working on the addition and the immediate grounds around that building, and then they plan to come back in a different phase and actually work on that connection, because a lot of it is actually occurring on our property, and so we want to make, that's a whole different discussion between what they're trying to do with the actual building.
Right, and my understanding is that that 15-story building will definitely impact the lake and the wildlife, or that section of the lake that is a little bit wilder.
The addition is actually on the side of the lake that's closer to the existing development. So if you're standing on our property at the Rouse statue, the addition is on the side that's nearest you. So it's occurring on the, I guess it would be called the south side.
Right, and so and there was supposed to be a sun study that was done. the effect of the of having the tower over there?
I
and
think
the
it was requested. I'll look to see if
Did you
it's been
find out
done.
if that's been done?
Yeah.
This is another one of those cases where, as Jenny has already pointed out, there are impacts on our property, and if we had an opportunity to ask some questions early on, maybe we would be, I want to say influencing, but we would getting people to be thinking about us as a player, as concerned people. There are people from all over Columbia that use that lakefront all the time. And so this development is certainly going to impact them. When you talk about the, where it says CA staff recommendations, we're never asked to do anything. And I just really wonder about that. I mean, I know, you may say, well, there isn't anything we can do. But the truth is, for example, we had a highway administration a situation arise, and people said, oh, you can't do anything about that. And CA got involved, and we wrote a letter, and we changed the road that went through a community.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there are things that we could do. I guess I'd like to see this process, if we could just get a little handle on it a little bit earlier and at least get an opportunity to submit questions. That would indicate interest, and it would signal some of the things that we're trying to get some information about.
So my understanding of the purpose of the development tracker meeting that we do here is that this is to inform you of the projects that are currently ongoing and new submissions, so that as you have questions, and tonight I take notes on them and then we follow up on them and then we can take action as needed. So are there particular questions? You've asked about a sun study for this, so I can follow up on that.
Yeah, I think for all of these, there are always going to be, as we're more and more aware of, environmental questions about impact on streams, impact on the lake, impact on wildlife, impact on trees, and all of these things don't generally come up until later on in the process. Or if they are there, they're sort of embedded and they don't sort of, at least they're not always apparent when I've gone to these meetings. Mm-hmm. And then we're not allowed to ask questions. So,
Milton wanted
Kinda
to
stuck.
just jump in real quick.
Just so we need to make sure we clarify, because the Sheraton is not 15 stories, and the addition is not going to be a 15. Shari, sounds like you're talking about the proposed development that Howard Hughes will be doing on the lakefront, where there was a sun study, but the Sheraton is they're just putting an addition on the existing building, and that's not 15 stories.
Right, it's not going to be any taller than the existing
existing building.
all right, I thought that it was going to be the higher.
No,
No,
that's not true.
no.
That's
it's,
not. That's
it's-
further down. That's the
further
Howard
down.
Hughes
This
development.
is,
Right.
and this goes on that that empty lot between the office building there and the Sheraton, that little hill that people like.
Where the
to-
lower,
Yes.
you say, so it's a lower that's just going to extend out? Yep.
Yeah, it's
Well, it's on the
extending
corner of the
toward.
building, they're putting a
All right,
round.
all right. So I looked at this a long time ago, and so maybe this has.
Yeah, so it's the same height. I mean, so there's no change in height.
Okay.
Greg was next, actually.
Yeah, just in response to what Alan said about we're going to advocate for things that are a threat. We could very well also advocate for things that are consistent,
Right.
with Columbia being a unique, diverse plan community. And I'll just put out there you raised the Hickory Ridge Village Center development. That's something, at least personally, I see as consistent with Columbia's, the plan to have a vibrant, strong village center in each of the villages. So,
I think Alan was next.
I'd like you to finish your sentence, Andy. You said this development, referring to the Sheraton, is going to be on that place of land where people like to, and then stuff.
For the fireworks. Where it's that little hill. Then.
So it's something that people have used in the past that they're not going to be able to do anymore.
Not when there's a building sitting there.
I guess and not that that probably wouldn't rise to it, because, people have rights to do with their land as they see fit, and people using it to watch fireworks may not have a right in the future to use it. But I see the development tracker a little bit differently. Right? I see what you said, but I also see it being the best tool we have right now for the staff to be able to point the board at things the board needs to pay attention to. Because we're not being paid to go to all those meetings and check all those things out. So, and I've said this before, I don't know if you were in the room, I've certainly said it to Jane and Milton. I guess I'm probably more, even though I'm looking at you, probably more speaking to Milton since he's in charge. But my preference, and I don't know how the rest of the board would see this, but my sense is the board is more and more going this way. My preference would be to have you all err on the side of not raising red flag alarms, but say this has some potential to possibly be an issue, rather than err on the side of let's just watch it, because my experience is that when we get down to the SDP or whatever level, it's too damn late, and the train has left the station, and there's nothing we can do to be influential or anything like that. So if we wait till that, we're not doing our advocacy role, and we're needing you to. I will say there is a perception that I share at times that the planning staff here has gotten too cozy with the planning staff at the county. And so there's more trust in what the planning staff at the county says than there maybe ought to be, or would be good for us to maintain our role as advocates, both for and in caution. So that's.
Just in a quick response,
Yeah.
the recommendations that are given in the development tracker are based on my professional opinion of whether I think that the project is of notice to. Whenever I say we're monitoring it closely, that's my indication that I think this project is of specific interest to CA, and we're going to be looking closely at it, just as to do the issues that you've just asked me to do. When I say no recommendation, no action recommended at this time, it's either because I concur that it's following the zoning regulations, it's doing everything it's supposed to be, there's nothing that is concerning with me, or that at this time there is no action to take. So this is my best professional version. It's not a filtered version of what the county staff is saying. This is my professional opinion on these, working with Jane on them. So this is, at this point, I think doing what you've asked me to do. I think the point of this meeting with me is things that I might not know that is concern to you or your village, or particular questions you would like more answers to that we can follow up to that might enlighten us to a specific smaller issue that we're not necessarily looking at. I will be
Okay,
very
Jenny,
honest, we do not have the resources to look at the detailed review that you might want for every project in Columbia.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your definition of that phrase we're looking at. That's not how I've been interpreting it.
Okay.
So that helps. Thank you.
Lynn was actually next. Sorry, Lynn. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I know I'm always last. Anyway, I do think, I know, for instance, our village board, Town Center, we love the development tracker. The board pays good attention to it, and it really follows up on things that it's interested in Town Center. So we find it to be a very useful tool, and this is again where I think the advocacy and the interest can really be most easily generated right at that really local level. And so I'm glad to see that that's a great tool, for us to use. And again, I think it's good that the villages are using it and getting more. They go to a lot of meetings, things like that. So I think it's a good thing, and I don't think we need to worry about not being represented.
Okay, Jenny, Dick,
Actually,
Renee, Greg.
Yeah, just two quick points. One, I was going to say the same thing, but about the villages and the value of this. I think we understand it's not just the CA board.
Right.
The other thing is the community can be using it too. So it's a real service that you're providing all over, and we appreciate it. The second thing, in terms of Dorsey's search, the 55-plus community, is it even realistic to make any attempt to try and get them in under the lien, or no? I mean, are we doing that, or it's not worth it, or?
The developer doesn't see it to his advantage. There's nothing we have to offer. We don't have a negotiating leverage. I mean, it costs some money, and he's a developer, and that's just not where he wants to be.
So we are exploring it, though. Okay.
Now, I guess I'm next. I just want to say that that developer tracker is a terrific tool, and I really appreciate it. And in answer to Alan's concerns, I look it over carefully, and if I have questions about your comments, or if I'm concerned, or I see concerns that maybe you haven't spotted, I bring them to your attention. And I think that's our job. But this is just a fabulous thing that you do, and I really appreciate it.
So,
Renee.
Can I ask questions about what's on the development track?
Sure.
I'm back here. Okay, so I don't even know what page I'm on, but I'm looking at the River Hill Garden Center, the David Elsasser issue with the technical. Okay, have you gotten any updates on what's going on there?
Yeah, so they had a appeal of their decisions, and so I believe the hearing examiner has actually made a decision on that. And so up till now, it's been held up in the appeals, but now they've been officially able to move forward. They were originally deemed technically complete.
Okay.
Which means I believe right now that the appeal has been settled, they are going to move forward with submitting their final documents, have that final review. This is all technical staff level, and then it will get signed off on, and then they can move forward with their permits.
Okay. And then my second question is about the Community Ecology Institute. Now, is that the one that's back in Hickory Ridge? Is that Hickory
It's
Ridge?
actually,
Wherever it
I'm
is.
sorry, I'm blanking on the road. It's
Even Star Place. What?
Well, yeah.
Is that the same one?
If it's the one you're talking about near us.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Jessica, I think this is a 6-acre property that the group is trying to purchase.
Trying to purchase.
Yes, I believe
Okay.
so, yeah.
And okay, so my question, I don't have really the question. I guess my comment here is that I don't know if we're in the have the financial ability to do grants, or if we want to do a grant. But I think that this is one area that would be beneficial to the community, and that we should look at as possibly writing a letter to support it at some point down the road.
Yeah, this is the one that's in the pre-submission community meeting,
Right.
so it's in the very
Yeah.
initial
I mean,
stages.
I don't know how the board feels, but I think, like, to me, this is something we should look at supporting down the road when it gets to that point.
Okay, Greg's next, and then Dick is going to wrap it up, and we're going to head on to the next.
Okay. I like the development tracker for what, for the information it has. It is very, very good information. And Jessica, you said you're looking for things that are inconsistent with GRAs and other standards that are out there. But I think what some of us have said is that we'd like you to look for things that are inconsistent with the way, for lack of a better word, the way things work in Columbia. And for example, on the Dorsey thing again, the idea that you would just throw up those buildings with a concrete buffer between that and a major road like 108, I mean, that's just not the way things are done in Columbia. And I don't know whether that's a ZRA violation or anything else, but that's the kind of thing where I would say, even if it's not, we should comment like this is, just find some basis to say this is just not, that will just look completely out of character for any other part of Columbia that you would have something like that. You know what I mean?
I'm following you, I think, yeah.
Last one, Dick.
Just a response to Jenny asking about whether they were joining CA or not. And I said that we didn't have any leverage. This goes way back to what we were talking about at the very beginning of the meeting when we were talking about value perception.
Mhm.
If we can improve our value perception and people say, hey, how come we're not members of CA? You know, that's the leverage we would have.
So, one more property. Okay, I'm over here. I'm worried about the property. Okay, so I'm going to go over here to one other one that I want to comment on, and that's Robinson Overlook. This is a 48-unit property that's not located in River Hill, but that several River Hill residents have commented on. And I just want to know, the only comment that has been made by River Hill residents thus far has been school overcrowding, because those students would feed into Pointer's Run. and Pointers Run's already well over capacity at 109 or 110%. So my only question there is, when do you see this property is going to be approved pretty quick because it's moderate housing? When do you see it being approved and going in the ground?
Well,
Do you have any idea, or could you just get back to me?
I can get back to you.
That's
It's
fine.
it's
That's
it has
fine.
to go to the planning board,
Yeah, but
and
they're going to move quick.
Yeah, once it's approved at the planning board, they're going to go for
Right,
their
they don't have
permits.
half the
So.
approval processes.
Yeah.
Okay, if you could just let me know what the time
I'll double check
is.
to see if it's on their docket yet.
That's all I need. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Appreciate your work.
Jessica, thanks.
Right.
And just remind the board what Dick said. You know, as soon as the development tracker comes out, if you have a question, email it. Don't wait for the meeting, you know, because sometimes if we can get it out fast, they can find out about it. All right, next. Dennis. Oh, you're back up here.
Yeah. You're on the night shift, huh?
And I have one more after this, so.
Yeah.
So first up on the list is the Bridge Deck Pilot Program. We have two, one in Kings and one in Oakland Mills, and we're testing out fiberglass decking boards. We think it's a good long-term solution. But before we get too far along with our 265 bridges, we want to give it a try and see how it works through the winter and also how it works through rain. But we think it's a good fit for CA.
It's like
Hey, Dennis.
Trex or some composite?
Yes? I'm sorry?
Will the fiberglass have texture or something like that?
That's one of the advantages, yes, it will. So we think it'll be
That
better.
would be a great improvement.
Correct. For biking and for, it won't be slick. Nuts that we.
Yeah, so as someone who has recently wiped out on one of our bridges, I heartily endorse that.
Is there a way to make
Thank you.
color blend more in with the surroundings, or is slate gray the color that comes in?
It comes in green, and that's the color. So this was a test sample, and then going forward, there's just a standard green Parks color, and we're going to do the green Parks color going forward. But these are really just new test pieces.
Great.
Well, I just wondering, I mean, is this like a composite or is this pure fiberglass?
It's a composite.
So is it along lines like a Trex board or?
No, it's much stiffer than that. So if it's just it's actually thinner than Trex, but has more stiffness to it.
I mean, Trex is already thinner than a 2x.
Correct. Well, actually, the boards we use for a lot of the bridges are 3x. The new boardwalk in the downtown Crescent area on CA Open Space, installed and paid for by Howard Hughes. We're happy with, we were a big part of the design process for this, and we made a great number of changes in the design to get it where we wanted it, and Howard Hughes accepted all those changes.
Where exactly is that?
That's, so in the building in the background is the MedStar building, I think, or the parking garage, excuse me. So that's.
Oh, okay.
That's the Pearson building.
So is it open?
The bridge?
Yeah, this.
It doesn't go anywhere yet, but it's available to walk on.
It's an exciting ride. You can
It's a
swim
bridge
over
to
the
nowhere,
bridge.
but you
Well,
can,
it comes from the parking lot.
then it goes to a nowhere.
Oh,
But while you're walking across it, it's nice.
It's a nice ride.
Then you get to do it again when you turn around and go back.
Yes, you see from both directions. So I've talked a little bit about the problems we're having with the treated lumber and these T-swings and the swings. And so this is an example of a tot lot refresh where we have taken out the wood swing structure and replaced it with metal. And generally, we end up with one or two less swings because of the new fall zone standards. But you know, we're not taking them away completely. But I was at one Thursday that had five. It was in Longreach. It had 5 swings, and I think we're going to go down to 4. We can fit 4 in there and make that work. The fountain. So one of the interesting things about this is that we found a chicken bone in the impeller, and so we had been satisfied with the height of the water coming out of the top of the bowl for a long, long time, and now it's probably 70 or 80% taller, and it's actually quite. And that chicken bone is gone, and actually it's quite impressive. If you haven't had a chance to go down there, it looks a lot better. I know you're laughing, but it was maybe 2 feet, and now it's actually maybe it's 3 times. It's maybe 6 feet or something. But it made a huge difference in it, and it really does look great. So we have been paying more attention to Symphony Woods, and we've made a number of turf renovations and just simple things like watering it. And I've said this to some of you individually, but if you haven't driven by Symphony Woods, it looks better than it ever has. It looks like the place that you go throw Frisbee, or that you could see someone sitting on a blanket having a picnic. It really looks that good now.
It is fabulous, and
Great.
thank you.
It does. I walked through it. It's incredible. My concern is we have a rainy weekend for Wine in the Woods. What is
What's
this?
new?
I know. What happens?
So a couple things have happened. We've changed how we manage that, and one of the simple things, and it seems simple when you talk about it, they had a lot of tents and a band on a piece of turf, and we simply asked them to move that to that little, I think it's called Parking Lot 1. It's a Howard Hughes parking lot, and they're moving a lot of stuff to that parking lot, so that's one thing that's happened. And that they have more matting than they've ever had in the past that they're going to use underneath the tents and in the walk areas. And the county's been a really good partner. I mean, they've really worked. We've said we need this, and they've said yes. In addition to which, I said, this is what it looks like today. After Wine in the Woods, it's going to look just like this. I mean, this is what you're responsible for. So we've brought it up to a new level, and they've said yes. They understand that if they need to put sod back in, they will.
Okay, that's the thing. Because I think in the past it said, well, at the end of the season we'll get to it, and so then if it gets destroyed in May, you've got the rest of the summer where it looks like you know what. But they're saying they're going to put sod back if they trash it.
And we're hoping they won't trash it. But
Jenny.
Is the county going to build that path system they were talking about?
That's still, there's still some negotiating going on between the county and IMA to make that happen. I don't think that's fully resolved yet. But I believe long-term that will go in. But it's a long road to hoe right now.
Is there a timeline for remediation after events?
The timeline for them to remediate after? So we walk it maybe 2 or 3 days after the event, and they generally are back to where it should be, or they'll do the remediation within 3 weeks.
Wouldn't another event happen by 3 weeks?
But that event, we've also worked with IMA, and they've moved their stage off the grass onto a mulch area. So there's been a great. We've met with them individually, met with them as groups, and we've made a bunch of suggestions. And for the most part, they've agreed because we do own the property. So.
And if I may, and plus we've been sending a message to them, and it's been consistent that the way the park has been treated in the past is no longer acceptable.
Good. Good. Congratulations.
Just so Fairway Hills, we have a new event pad for outings, and the concrete just went in. If you haven't been by there, if you get a chance to stop in, it sits up high, up over hole 18. It's a great view, and there'll be a tent going on that pad. That tent was in the parking lot, and they really miss the parking when they have the events, so this is a big improvement for them. Bioretention planting, in terms of community engagement, we're trying to do more of that going forward. This was on April 6th, in the River Hill Watershed Committee, along with the CA staff, worked on this and got this installed. Our good friend Jeremy's up front in front of the Owen Brown Village, working through some solar and some just general energy improvements for the community engagement. And the Stream Waiters, another terrific program, and Danielle, who's also our resident mosquito expert, you can see her just in the background as part of that group, and coordinated that, and it turned out to be terrific.
What is that thing at the top?
Crayfish.
It's crayfish.
It's crawdad.
I think it's not a mosquito.
I'm sure I should know the technical name, but. So let me see if I can get this to come up. So there are a number of exceptional staff members that work for CA, and we make all kinds of big decisions here. But I think if we watch this, you can agree that Aaron Cassell is ideally suited to work at the dog park.
My name is Erin Cassell, and I'm a dog park attendant, and I've been with CA since April 1st, 2018. I try to do the best that I can and go above and beyond. Like, if the benches are wet or muddy, I wipe them off. I just try to think of like the little things that would make things exceptional for the guests instead. I think one part that makes the job so great is the members are like literally choking themselves to get in here. The dogs are just like, let's go, it's the best day ever, we get to play. I'm always excited to see them, and they're always excited to be here. So, I love that. The thing that makes me most proud about the job is that I know that there's a great connection with the members or guests. It's so pretty out here. My art studio, I don't have windows or anything, so being outside is like such a blessing. It's wonderful to be out there, the open field. You see the dogs running around and playing, like whoever. It doesn't matter what color they are, or how big they are, or what sex they are. They just all play. There's no judgment. I don't know. I think they're good teachers for us. They're good teachers for the humans. I love them so much.
They're advancing on us.
Thank you, Dennis. Board votes. Easement request. Is there a motion to grant the easement request? Dick moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Well, I'm going to let Renee.
Please. Okay, that's right.
Sorry. All right, discussion. Okay, no discussion. All right, all those in favor of granting the easement request? Okay, I gotta read this. Alan?
Aye.
Okay, Janet, Alan, Renee, Ginny. Oh, it's unanimous.
Unanimous.
Okay, that's easy.
Boy, that
Great.
was easy.
That was easy.
It's getting late.
It's getting late.
Okay, thank you. Sorry to keep you waiting for her.
That's all right.
But, all right, appointments to the Millennial Advisory Committee. Dick made the motion, Nancy made the motion, seconded by Dick. All those in favor of the appointments? It was unanimous. Thank you.
Say a few things, but okay.
Proposed template for use on the board and the CA Audit Committee. Greg made the motion. Shari seconded. All those in favor? It was unanimous. Yes, it was. Good. Thank you very much. All right. All here, no further discussion. All those in favor of the appointments? Janet? Unanimous. There's no objections. Okay, proposed template. Is there a motion to approve the proposed template?
I move we approve the proposed template.
Greg moved. Is there a second? Sherry moved. I second. Sorry, Shari seconded. Any discussion? Okay. No. All those in favor? Okay. Lynn, Greg, Shari, Nancy, Dick, Andy, Ginny, Alan, Janet? Unanimous. Okay.
Whoa, you just killed 20 minutes.
Well, we'll put Renee and Janet as both not here, so.
Unanimous 900.
800, because Renee wasn't here either.
800.
All right. Any questions on the tracking forms? Yes. Sure.
I asked last time about whether we have any kind of easement plan, and having not heard anything back, I'd like to put that on the board tracking form so that we have a chance to take a look at, I believe the board had a policy about easement, but I don't believe, I haven't seen anything.
Dennis just left. Yeah, can we just added? I thought we did. I thought we did have a policy.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, and then I think the board has to approve it, and we know we have
We have a
standard.
process.
A process.
We have a
Okay.
process, but a process is different from a policy. And a land use policy or an easement policy, this is the kind of thing that comes up repeatedly, and we look at this type of situation each time for each individual case. But I believe, certainly I know that the board has discussed this in the past. It may have been that there was a policy and procedure that was done together, but we now have a process which is how we do it, but not a policy that describes why we do it or what the guidelines are. So can we please investigate that?
So could you put down to determine if we have a policy on granting easements, and if so, can you get us a copy of that policy?
Right.
Correct.
Yes.
Alan. Okay, wait, Sherry done?
Yeah.
Alan.
At our last meeting last month, I had asked for somebody to put on the tracking log about who the March 8th communication about the CBA was sent to. And I was told it was going to be on the tracking log and be 30 days, and it's been 30 days. And
Yeah, I did not communicate that with Jen. I dropped the ball on that. I thought I had it, I hadn't.
so what should I expect?
So I would, I'll put it on the log, and I don't know how long it will take. Are you asking for that as an individual or on behalf of the board?
And the difference would be, what difference would that make?
Just how we could disclose personal identifiable information to an individual resident or to the CA board.
People's names and addresses are public record.
It's PII. And email addresses are definitely personal identifiable information.
Could have been told that when
I didn't think of that, I'm sorry.
What are you asking, Alan?
My concern is that on March 8th, a message was sent out to an unknown number of people. I know I got it, and a number of other people did, that said that the CA board had decided that the CBA, I'm a little bit paraphrasing here, that the CBA would be taken up better suited for 2020 than 2019, which was not what we decided. And so far, I have not seen any public retraction of that. I've not seen any attempt to correct the record of that.
Well, what's the PII issue? That's what I don't
So what I had asked for 30 days ago was I want to know who it was sent to, so the correction could be sent to them. If what I hear Susan saying is I can't have that information, then to me that then puts it in, from my point of view, in the board's lap to say what are we going to do about misinformation on our behalf being sent out to the public.
Okay. If the board were to vote to direct staff to make the correction to the same group?
It worked for me, but I've asked for a correction 3 different times and nothing's happened, so.
Well.
So, if the board will take it up, I would love it.
Yeah, I was just as frustrated as you when I saw that, and I guess we should have really insisted the correction be sent out right away. My concern about sending it now is people are going to read it and think we're dealing with the CBA again right now, or, God knows what, and we're raising that again, where right now it's
Died down.
maybe not a good idea to raise it again. I know what you're saying. I'm just thinking the timing, right? It may not be worth it. The boat may have sailed. We should have really done something.
Okay, let's kind of get back to Alan's original question. You had asked for an issue to be put on the tracking form.
I had asked for a correction to something went out, nothing happened. That was my only recourse I could think of. Now it's been another month, and I'm finally told, no, apparently can't have it, and I accept your apology. But to then say, well, the ship has sailed, I mean,
Less
not that I want to
satisfying.
stir up a hornet's nest, but right now the community's been left with a misinformation about a significant issue, and we were misrepresented, and that's not acceptable.
Dick?
I think Alan has raised a good point. I think also the ship has sailed. Maybe what we could do is make sure that if the subject comes up again, that we make it clear in that any further communication that this decision was
Is there anything on the website about this? Still, are there documents on the website about this still?
There's information still on the website about all the supporting documentation is still there.
So I would appreciate that whatever the landing page of that is, that on that landing page, right at the top, the appropriately sized letters so people will see it, that the actual, whatever, vote, resolution, motion, whatever it was that we did pass, be put there, so that the board's intentions are made clear publicly.
I would like, if that's the board intention, please say so, because Alan is making that request.
Oh, yeah, that is the board's intention.
Well, what Alan's
that is-
asking for is to put what the actual motion
What
was.
we actually said, I mean, and, yeah.
I mean, and certainly that's part of our public, public minutes, I mean. Yeah, let's go find out, we'll go find out what the actual motion was. Yeah, I mean, that's not, right.
I'm hearing Andy right, I don't need to make a motion.
You don't have to, because it's all public. I mean, it's just.
But I'm also hearing Milton want to make sure that it's.
I want to make sure
requested
it's a
board.
board decision.
Yeah, so let's make I
So-
move that we check on the language of the motion that be put on the website,
Where I said.
what he said.
We will put the motion that we actually voted on the website.
On the landing page of the CBA.
Right.
Right, on the.
In
So
a place where people will see it.
Make it
So-
clear.
At the
wait.
Not the
top,
footnote
I
at the
don't know.
bottom.
So does Milton,
Yeah.
so do you need a motion?
I just want to know that this is a board decision.
Does anybody oppose
How
it?
do we, well, no,
Anybody oppose it?
we're getting there by a consensus
Yeah,
thing,
anybody
yeah.
oppose it? I mean, if nobody opposes it, let's just.
No, let's,
Okay.
let's just do it.
Thank you.
How many meetings did it take, Alan?
All right, Nancy.
Since CBA was announced just now, or mentioned just now, I would like to know that if we're going to bring it up, whether we're going to kill it or we're going to live with it, that we bring it up in the next 30 days, that we don't wait until. Well, to have an initial conversation as to whether or not we want to proceed investigating it. I don't want to find out in September or October
Okay.
that we're going to do this.
So how about this? There's a new board coming on, and the new board is going to talk about what they would like to discuss at this coming year.
Okay.
And I think that's the perfect place to bring it up to
Okay.
decide if the board wants to pursue it or not, or what it wants to do. And I think that's the
It's
much
either a go
better.
or a
Oh, wait,
no-go.
this
That's my
wasn't
question.
the board didn't decide to pursue in the first place. It was a staff request to pursue it. The board
Right.
But that
directed
doesn't
the
matter.
staff.
That's
Okay,
the
but
past.
the board
I'm
directed the
talking
staff
about the future.
to have a public process. If so,
right.
What I'm hearing Nancy say is, I don't want to find out that with the session starting in January, the public process is going to start in
October.
December. You know?
Right.
It's a-
Right. And that's why I said we're going to talk about what we want to do next year
In May.
in May.
Well,
Yep.
I'm hearing actually Nancy request from staff. What's your intentions about bringing this?
No, I'm not
I think it's
requesting
the board.
from
I think
staff.
it's the board.
It's a board conversation
Yeah,
that
it's a
I'm
board
asking
conversation.
for, so we can discuss if
Yeah.
and when we're going to do anything with this. If we're not, it's dead. If we are, if the board wants to move forward or investigate further, that decision is made. But we need a conversation to even begin the process.
Your assumption, I just want to check this. So it's your assumption that if the board doesn't say we want to take it up, the staff's not going to bring it up on its own.
They can bring it up, but what we're going to do with it, hopefully, if they want to bring it up, they better bring it up early.
Well, I'm with you because it's already going to be May. That's almost half the year over, and to make any kind of good public process, we need some time.
Okay.
May.
So let's move on to talking points.
Did you all make a decision on that? Is it by consensus?
Yeah, by consent.
Okay.
Okay.
Not having
The
a
board
closed meeting
appointed,
tonight?
the board appointed members to the Architectural Resource Committee by consent. The board agreed to post the original motion regarding the Community Benefit Association on CA's website landing page regarding CBA information. The board voted to approve an easement request for Grace Drive Pathway, to appoint members to the Millennial Advisory Committee, and to approve a template for use by the board and the Audit Committee.
Template on,
Sexual harassment.
on sexual harassment.
On sexual harassment.
All right. We're going to adjourn at 10:30, and I'd asked the board to give me about 15 minutes for a closed meeting upstairs.